Hello and welcome to this Thursday live stream where we're going to have a bit of a chilled evening, and I'm just going to do some sculpting whilst uh, taking some questions from you guys. I hope everyone's had a good week so far, and I'll just go turn my camera on quick. 1 second. There we are. Hello everyone. Yeah, let's just jump into it because we've got quite a bit to do today, and we've only got about an hour and a half. So I'm just going to jump straight into ZBrush quick. There we are. So, let me just turn that banner off quick. 1 second. There we are. Let me just get the comment section up as well. So we're continuing on with this orc bust at the moment that we created about two live streams for the last 2 live streams. But before we do that, I got a little bit of a request and something to show for one of my what do you call members on YouTube and Patreon. He sent me his art piece and he wanted me to show how he could improve it. I'm just going to go through and run through how to do that first. So it's going to be a 2-parter. We probably won't do as much work on this orc bust as we want to, but I wanted to show you quickly how I would take a someone else's artwork and just try and help to fix it. So this was sent to me by Joseph, who is one of my first members on YouTube, and he sculpted on Nomad, I believe, this orc bust of Azog, the Defiler. And he sent it to me through my Patreon to get some pointers on how to, just give him art critique. And I took a look at it, and I liked the amount of work he's been able to get through Nomad on, I think it was on iPad. So that's pretty good actually, as a first kind of beginner sculpt. So what I thought I'd do, and I asked his permission first, was bring it into this live stream and show you how I would go about fixing some issues to make it look a little bit more completed. And Joseph was kind enough to let me use his artwork as a sort of starting point. Could you also, anybody in the chat, just let me know if the audio is okay? That'd be great. Just a thumbs up or, whatever. So like I mentioned before, this was created in Nomad. I think it was Nomad. And it's a good sculpt. It's a good beginner sculpt. I think it looks really good. It's got the fundamentals going, and half the battle of sculpting is knowing how to use the brushes and the techniques inside of 3D. And I think he's got that going pretty well. But I'm just going to show how I would fix this if I was to spend a little bit more time on the fundamentals. So I'm just going to duplicate this one. I'm going to duplicate the eye. I'm going to quickly move this one to the top. I'm going to make a new folder and call this one the reference. I'm just going to hide that one for now. Now, because it was created in Nomad, it doesn't have any subdivision levels. Not going to be a problem. 2 million's okay. I would normally dynamesh it, bring it back down a few pegs, but for now, I think it's just going to be okay. I'll just show you some really basic ways to enhance this sculpt. But the first thing you need to do is always bring in some references. So we just get this reference up here. So I went online and I looked up some references of Azog the Defiler. And straight away, we can see, just move that guy to the side quick. Straight away, we can see where we can actually do some quick updates. You have the overall design down pretty well. You've got all the details that Azog has, and the sort of facial structure is pretty much there, or it's there for how he looks. But I think we can enhance this a little bit more. So I'm just going to grab the move brush quick. I'm going to make sure the symmetry is turned on for this guy in X. So I'm just going to go around with the move brush, only move brush, and just move some of these parts so that it matches the reference a little more. Now, his eyes are quite large, and that's okay because everybody does this when they first start sculpting. They always make the eyes far too big. I've done it myself, don't worry. So we can actually come in here, grab these eyes, symmetry turned on, like that. And I'm just going to shrink these down quite a bit, right? Like that. Grab the move brush, and now we can just bring in, whoop, that looks weird, bring in these eyes. I like to also not use textures, as it sort of gives a bit, for me, it gives a bit of a false sort of look to my character when I'm sculpting. And you can see on his face here, I got these images from this YouTube channel, YouTube video. I'll just copy this and put this in the chat. There we are. So that video will take you, well, that link will take you to a video where they discuss how they created Azog the Defiler. It's really good. It also has a little bit of a turntable, so you can actually grab these. If you just pause it, you can grab the images from online, which is really cool. Using the the snippet tool. What's it called? The snipping tool. If you're using a Windows. But essentially, what you want to do is just go on there, have a look at that, watch the video as well, and enjoy it really. So just gonna come in the front here. So as you can see, his face, he doesn't really have a nose like a normal nose. It's more like, when I see these orcs from the Hobbit, I always imagine that they had a lot of shark involvement in it, like the way their noses look. It just reminds me of a shark. If you look at the ones we saw last week, especially this one, his facial features look very pointy, like a shark's face, basically, and the mouth as well is just a mess of teeth that like a shark would have. So just bearing that in mind, we're just gonna pull these verts, and also don't be afraid to pull out the mouth a little as well, because the jaw, the top of the mouth actually comes further forward as well, just there. And he's got quite a square jaw as well. And then we're just gonna use the clay brush. Let's just move this out the way quick. Clay brush. How's everybody doing? Just let me just see if there's any comments here quick. I got one from OM saying, I want to become a creature artist, so what to focus on fire the most except anatomy? What to focus on first the most except anatomy? Well, creature artists, you will need to learn anatomy, so it's probably best to start with anatomy and then work your way on to sort of the creatures that you want to create. It's always good to have a base knowledge of anatomy, otherwise you will fall into some problems later on. But you don't have to know every single muscle. When I say you need to learn anatomy, you don't have to learn every single muscle group, bone, or anything like that. You just need to know how the forms work and how they work together and that sort of thing. For the most part, if you really want to know anatomy really well, then you'll have to learn all the muscle groups and stuff. But that's not really too important when you're first starting, as long as you get an idea of what anatomy is. So just going to bring these down a bit. But thank you for the question. So got one here from Comics Legend. With your personal project, how do you know when a project is done? I have trouble just calling something done because I can keep messing with it, especially with OCD. Yeah, I also have OCD. Don't worry, you're not the only one. I've kind of had to sort of force myself to just give up at a certain point. Um, it's always great to keep going on a project, but then you get too involved with it, and then you start to mess it up, like you say. Uh, at some point, you just need to switch it off in your head and just say, "Yeah, that's done. Move on to the next one." A good practice to do is to work with a. Let's say you're sculpting faces. Do a face sculpt in 1 hour, and then move on to the next one. Do that for an hour. Move on to the next one. That for an hour. It teaches you to just give up on what you've done and to work faster at getting things correct the first time. I think that's the best method to do when you're working on projects and stuff like that. Is it just at some point you just need to say, "Yep, that's me. It's done. Can't do anymore." Cool. Just gonna keep moving these points around. Okay, so he's getting a bit flat in the front here now. I'm just gonna also. I think his lower half could actually be smaller, but we'll get to that. At the front here, we can see that we got kind of like a, how do I say, it's like an army helmet type head going on here, but this one we have in front of us here is more rounded, and I think that's because we're missing this sort of cheekbones as well in this area here. So if I grab the clay buildup and I build up these cheeks and the bottom chin here, jaw, sorry, yeah, and then I cut in over there, then we can start to see we're getting a more square jawline going on. And we can just move these points again. That nose is really small actually on him, isn't it? So we can actually bring this in a bit more. Grab the clay buildup and just, we're gonna, as you can see here, he hasn't actually got like a cleft on his sort of mouth area here, or hasn't got a very distinctive cleft. So we could just sort of bring this in a bit more. That. Grab the clay buildup, just cut in around the eye sockets, because you got to imagine there's a underneath all this is a skeletal or skull, sorry, and there's a bone going there, which is, grab this guy, going to see this very well, but there's muscles going around this eye here, and there's a bone that just goes along there. Just need to emphasize that as well. Landmarks, as I mentioned before. And don't be too worried about having perfect geometry at this point, because you really don't need it at this stage. It's all about finding those forms. And we're going to add a little bit of geometry here. How's everybody doing? I'm just going to check the chat quick. Sorry. Very fast. Oh, you're Andy Turner. Nice to see you here. Sculpt's looking great as always. Thank you, Andy. Not the greatest live streamer, but hey ho. You see the wrinkles. We don't really have as defined wrinkles in this area, so we can actually just come in here, maybe grab the trim dynamic brush, and just shave those away for now. And we can also shave in on the sides here. So if you, I don't know if you can see it on the little head I've got here, but your temples areas here tend to go inwards there, and then you can grab the clay buildup and build up that section there. Carve away in here for a little bit. So if you look at the top of a skull, can't really see this, can we? But if you look at the top of your head, it actually comes to a point in the front and then it splays out at the back, giving it that sort of short, arrow shape in the front, on the top, or pointed shape on the top. So if you can see on this one, we don't actually have that arrow shape going on. It's just really straight, right? So what we want to do is we just want to tuck the forehead in a bit in the front and bring out the back a bit for that skull. Turn this perspective on again, and then grab the trim dynamic and just shave the top of the head back a bit more. Like that. And the ears at the moment are a little bit too close to the head. So what we can do is grab in the lasso. I'm just going to lasso the ears, mask them, and then I'm going to pull them out. Oops. Why is that not working? Oh, there it is. Just going to move that, unlock it. Strange. I was pinned. Right. Move that out and rotate them inwards so they come out at the ends, giving us a bit more of a realistic ear position. Okay, now we have a slight issue here. We just need to bring in the front or the sides a bit more. Maybe build up this brow area a bit more. You've got quite a heavy brow. As you can see, we can eventually start to get a better representation of Azog as we go forwards, just by spending a little time with a very good reference at the bottom here. We can start to get our character looking much more realistic. And I think a lot of it, the major part of it, was to do with the eyes. I think the eyes, making them so big, which is what everyone does. Don't worry, everybody does that. Making it so big, just it looks more cartoonish. If you look at the head of Azog, his eyes aren't really that big. They're very small compared to the whole rest of his head here. Even in the concepts, they made his eyes really small. So that's a good sort of point to mention, is the eyes. Although their eyes are huge when they're outside the head, they're actually quite small when they're covered with all the layers of skin that we have for the eyes and the sockets and stuff like that. Okay. We just check the chat quick. From Ashritha, I think. Hello, sir. Recently, I'm getting to know how rapidly AI is developing into multiple departments. Will that affect the artists how to get rid of the fear of AI? Till date, what I have learned is all waste. No, it's never a waste, because I have the same fear that AI might take over the industry at some point, and they're getting really good. I mean, I've seen some 2D images to 3D models made completely with using AI tools, and they are good. Don't get me wrong, but if you're going into film or game, the chances of using AI in that capacity at this precise moment is very, very slim. AI is going to be good for conceptual work. So being a concept artist, you can bash out concepts really quickly with AI. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty of making a sort of what do you call them? principal character in the film or principal character in the game, there has to be very specific things that only a human can do at this point in time that an AI can't. And I think it'll be an easier sort of journey into AI if you know 3D first, because you already know what it's supposed to look like. So you'll have that knowledge and you'll be able to fix things faster because you have that knowledge of 3D. So I wouldn't worry too much about AI at the moment. The only people that really need to worry about AI are maybe musicians and concept artists. That's what I think anyway. It is a good skill to learn. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to fall behind when it actually takes over, but I wouldn't worry about it too much just yet. Uh, Anybody else got a question? Nope. Cool. So I'm just going to carry on with this. We can actually push these ears in a bit smaller. Bring that out the front, and then we can actually come in here, and carve in under here for the jaw, and connect. Oh, he's got quite a flat face here, really, hasn't he? He hasn't really got that much going on in this general area. It's really quite flat in its neutral pose, obviously. It's got wrinkles and stuff to animate it, but as a neutral pose, quite a flat model. Just using the clay buildup just to get these shapes right. Now we can move the sides here, these cheekbones. We can just move them forward and make them more pronounced, come from the front. A bit too pronounced, actually. Just going to move them slightly back a bit. And what you can do is you even sharpen it along the top, so it's a little sharper there. And just going to cut in around here and make way for the eyelids. Oops, grab this one. And it's the actual distance of his nose bridge at the top is quite vast, and that's what gives it a bit of the character that all these orcs have, is that they have quite a large ridge in the middle there, and it's very flat as well. And obviously going to cut a nostrils in here and make these nostrils slightly smaller. We can focus on the forehead a bit, just make 2 bumps in the front. And a bump in the middle. Again, I'm not sculpting very heavy when I'm doing this. I'm doing a very light touch with the brush. Very important to know when to do it a hard brush stroke and when to do a soft brush stroke. I'm going to break up this eyebrow like that. Flatten that jaw area. And I'm going to pull out these eyebrows a bit down a bit as well. There we go. Just going to see if it got a another sort of image. So the back of his head, we grab the move brush. Kind of doesn't have much of a neck, does he? So you can actually pull that out a bit. And there's not much. I mean, when you're doing sculpting, you don't realize just how much sort of fat deposit and skin is just laying on the character. You want to make all these tendrils and muscle groups and make him look like the Hulk and or a strong man, but the majority of the time you don't see those muscles in a flexed position, you know, all the time. So it would actually be more softer. So we'd have a rounder shoulder, rounder neck area with just a buildup of skin, and you can see there's just no actual muscle going on here because it's not a tensed character all the time. And in fact, I'm just going to shrink that area. On the top, just shrink it down because we don't want too small a head on too big a body. And we can see here we need to pull these cheeks out a little bit from the 3/4 view. And that's another thing, keep moving around your model when you're doing these changes, because then you can actually see. Oh, I forgot to. Yeah. So yeah, keep moving around your model. Don't stay in one position too long, so that you can see the whole thing from all angles. Bring these cheekbones down a bit. It's not going to look 1,000% like Azog, but with time and patience, you'll probably be able to get it reasonably there. Speaking of Azog, did you know that the original Azog was supposed to be this guy in the film? I don't know if anyone's watched the making of The Hobbit, but the original Azog was going to be a prosthetic suit, and they were going to use this guy to begin with. So this was the first. I think this was like the first version of him that they created, and then they said it's not looking too dangerous or scary. So they decided to do another version, and it was actually this guy here, who's the tower guard that sort of holds Gandalf in the prison, and then throws him around. So this was supposed to be Azog 2 or Balrog. Balrog? No. What's that other guy's name? I can't remember. But he was supposed to be Azog as well, like a version of Azog. And then they decided to go for a CGI version instead because it was cheaper, I guess, or easier. But I would have preferred. I think I would have preferred a real one, like a real man in suit sort of thing. I think it would have been more interesting. Sometimes practical just beats 3D, So let's have a look at the chat quick. We got one again. Asheritha. Ashritha? I hope that's right. Sorry. What are forms in sculpting and how to improve in the forms? Any exercises or work to improve forms? Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned it before, but you can. One second. you can grab these books like Sculpting, Anatomy for Sculptors, and this will run you through all the forms. Oops, all the forms and all the muscles and whatnot that you need to know. Let me just grab this quick. So there's this book here. This is probably the best book I've ever had. You can get it on Amazon, and it comes with like just showing you how to sculpt or like anatomy forms and stuff like that. I think I might at some point just do like an anatomy sculpt and show you how to do it from scratch. I think it'll be quite beneficial for everyone. But yeah, grab that book, or there's plenty of other books, but I think that one's the best one. Let me have a look at this one. This one from Anatoly Mitskov. From way long time, there was one thing in ZBrush I never understood, but really wanted. How can I adjust and customize my interface or hotkeys so I can work faster with my favorite tools? Yeah, I think I go through with that in I think a Dragon tutorial live stream that I have. I go through how to set up your interface. I can just run you through quickly a real quick demonstration. So I'm just going to hide this one for now. So you want to go to Preferences, you want to go to Config, and you want to say Enable Customize. And that's going to enable the interface to be customized. And then from here, you can actually go in and you can grab any of these palettes. So let's say you wanted to have a Dynamesh button. So you just hit Control Shift and what is it? Control. It's Shift Alt, I believe. Oh no, wait. 1 second. Got to remember these buttons. Control Alt, and then you can click and drag that button into any of these free spaces that you have on your customization. You can even bring this all the way up here and have a customized shelf at the top. I don't tend to do it much because I like to keep things simple because I'm trying to teach basics for beginners and experience as well, but mostly for beginners. And to have an interface that's just full of stuff is just it's too confusing and it might scare people. So I decide to not use it as much. But you can use that, and once you've done all the buttons that you want to put into your interface, wherever you want them, you can then go into Preferences and hit Enable Customization Off, and that will just lock it in place wherever you put the button. And then you come to Preferences and say Store Config, and that will store your configuration. The next time you open up ZBrush, it'll be there. But I'm just going to get rid of that because I don't need that there. So I'm going to enable it. You Control Alt, drag into the center of your canvas, let go, and it will just delete it. And I'm going to enable customization to turn it off again, and I have my scene back. Hope that's helped. I think I've run into more description in other tutorials I have, but that's essentially how you do it. Cool. We got Rodrigo Monnier. I hope that's right. What values do Dynamesh work with? What values do Dynamesh work with? Not quite sure what that question means. When I use Dynamesh, it's to make it easier so that I don't have to worry about topology and stretching, because then I can just Dynamesh again. It will just recalculate the topology and clean it for me. So using Dynamesh at the very beginning is better than using it, let's say, at the near the very end of your character, because you should have had the fundamentals all made in Dynamesh before making proper topology. Hope that's helped. Comics Legends says, have you ever 3D printed any of your sculptures? Do you have any tutorials on how to prep a model for 3D print, creating proper cuts and keys, adding supports, etc.? I have. I just bring this up. Hold on 1 second. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is that little sort of space explorer female creator that I created, and I printed it ooh, about 2 years ago. I haven't used my 3D printer since. I actually want to set up my 3D printers and get these going again because I've got so many models. I just want to start to 3D print them and probably sell them or whatever. Uh, but yeah, that's one of them. I've done some others, but like I said, I'm a novice. I don't know it. I don't know it off by heart. I'm going to try and learn it, and as I learn it, I'll let you guys know basically. Cool. Let me just hide that. All right, so back to the head. Now, our one looks a bit sad, so we're just going to make his brow lower at brow and bring the forehead out a bit in the front. And he's actually got quite a strong jawline there. So instead of a rounded jawline, we can we'll just grab the clay buildup and carve a nice, strong jaw. In there. Nice straight jaw. And I'm just going to trim dynamic around here. Grab the dam standard, and I'm just going to pull that lip out at the top a little bit. Quite a front forward. It's front forward. It's quite a forward sort of jaw he's got, isn't it? It's kind of pulls forward a lot. And it's quite straight as well. Bottom here. So we can actually carve all this out. Just have a straight line basically. Pull that in. I mean, I could go forever on this character. I love this sort of orc creations from The Hobbit, and I could definitely spend the rest of the evening just fixing this character. But we have the other orc to finish, which we haven't done yet, and I think with the ears on this guy should poke up a bit. So we should actually pretty soon jump back onto that one. But I just wanted to show you how quickly you can, with good references and a lot of time, that you can make your model look a little bit more like what it should. Nice thick neck. It's actually quite a flat head at the top, isn't it? And the sides come out. Yeah, I think that'll do. I think we got enough here to move back onto the other one. I just want to quickly show how this character can be a little bit more work done to it, just to make it fall more in line with the original design. So if I just hide this quick, I'll just show you the before and after. Set. Cool. Turn these back on. So that's quite funny. So the poly paint is quite funny because it's still there. Yeah, so you can see the difference. Just a little bit of time and a little bit of working on it. I mean, even the texture of it looks more inviting. I think having a smooth model, too much of a smooth model, it really destroys the realism that you're trying to get out of your character. So just using the clay brush, we've already created this sort of skin sort of texture and feel, just using the clay build-up brush to add some textures to it. Also, smaller eyes as well really help to set that in better, and building up the edges and stuff. But yeah, that's how I would sculpt Azog. If I was doing Azog, just cleaning it up a little bit like that. I hope that's been helpful, Joseph. I hope that's been helpful. I hope you're still in the video or the live stream. If anybody else who's a patron and a member has a model that they are finding a bit difficult and they don't mind me showing it online and showing how to work it to look a little bit more real, or give it a bit more life, or take it to the next level, may I say, then just let me know, and I'll be glad to show on live on Thursdays. But I'm going to leave that there for now. Joseph, if you're in the chat still, I'll send you this file so you can have it, and then work on your character, or use it in your portfolio. Totally up to you. So with that, just going to jump back into this guy and grab my references. Zip. There we are. Just before I go forward, I'm just going to check the chat again. Sorry if I check the chat too often, but I mean, this is Thursday. We're just, you're asking me questions. I'm going to try and answer them as best I can. Let me just add this. So this one's from Shira Phoenix. I hope that's right. Hi, Marcus. Are you going to the IAMAG event in Paris in March? Probably not. I don't have money to. Sorry, I don't have money to travel at the moment. I'm pretty busy at work and all this live streams and other things. But I'll have a look into it. I'm going to look into it and see if there's one in England. Maybe I can go to one in England. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably not going to be able to go to that one. So this one's from Tamaro. I had a good run of learning ZBrush a couple of years ago, but now I'm only find the time to dip in and out. What strikes me is how quickly it can be to forget ZBrush's UI. It's so atypical in its layout. Yeah, it is. It's a unique creature, that's for sure. I don't think I'd ever actually, because I've been working in ZBrush for so long, I don't think I'd actually forget how to use it as quick. I think it's like it's basically like riding a bike. It's more like if you don't use it for a long time, you just get left. I think the problem is you just get left behind with these sort of techniques and stuff. But I think general sculpting, basic sculpting techniques is always universal when it comes to ZBrush, and I don't think I'd ever forget that. So thank you, Joseph. Cool. So I'm just going to jump back onto this guy. So last week, we were just adding some very easy forms to our character's face, going around with the clay buildup very lightly, updating the sort of forms and bringing more depth to them. And this week, tonight, we're just going to, I'm just going to first of all look at the teeth, because I think the teeth are a bit too simple. So I'm just going to subdivide the teeth a couple of times, grab the trim dynamic brush, and we're going to solo the teeth. I'm also going to turn the wireframe on, because what I want to do is I want to detail the teeth, but because the teeth are so close together, it's difficult to sculpt on, because you're going to affect other topology that's nearby, right? So the brush is pulling that geometry towards the other one. So what I want to do is have the ability to sculpt on each individual tooth without having to worry about touching another one with the brush. So coming over here, the first thing I want to do is make sure they got auto polygroups on. So that just makes it so I think they're all separate polygroups. Yep. So now they're all separate polygroups. I can come up to brushes, and if I move this reference out the way, I come over to brushes. I'm just going to come down to auto masking, and under auto masking, there's an auto masking button called or slider called mask by polygroups. And if you slide that all the way to the side to 100%, because at the moment it was on 0, now it's 100%, you can now sculpt on this tooth without affecting any of the others, because it's only recognizing the polygroup that you're sculpting on. And that's why having it separate polygroups really works well. So with that in mind, I'm just going to quickly sharpen these tusks up using the trim dynamic. Just sharpen the tusks real quickly with nice long strokes of the pen. That. Move on to the next one. Now, if you're really worried about messing up, then you can just select that one tusk and sculpt it and hide the other ones. And this is a very quick way of sculpting tusks, by the way. You can go for hours adding all the little details and bumps and lumps and all that sort of thing. But because it's a concept sculpt, I'm not too worried. I just need something that's on there that's just going to make it look less like a tube or a smooth tube. So I'm not too worried about the look of it. The final perfect look, basically. And with this one, I'm just going to also shave the top down a bit, so it's got a bit of so it looks like it's got a bit of a tooth missing as well. So it just breaks up that symmetry that we have with these tusks, and you can even break it up a bit more. Just push this really far down, so it looks like it's a broken off piece of tooth. And just going to sew that again. And I'm going to select this one. And this is about as much care as I do with these concepts when it comes to sculpting the sort of model with the teeth. I don't spend too much time on it because the rendering techniques will make it look really cool anyway. How's everybody doing? Let's check the chat again. Let's have a look at this one. Ashritha? I hope that's all right, man. Anytime soon, will you be able to portfolio review? Depends on what you mean by portfolio review. Do you mean reviewing your portfolio live or reviewing my own portfolio live? I'm not quite sure. If it's to show your portfolio, then yeah, just send me, if you're a patron or a member, send me a link to your portfolio, and I'll do a live review of it, and I'll show you where depending on what you want to do as well, because I've had this a lot of this in the past, where I've reviewed students' portfolios, and they have been told by their universities, because they're coming straight out of university, that they need to work if they're going for game design, say, they need to work on environmental stuff, even though they want to be character artists. Their universities are telling them to work on environmental objects and parts, and I think that's totally wrong. I think if you want to be a character artist, then you need to have character artwork. If you want to be an environment artist, then yes, do environment stuff. But if you think it's easier to be an environment artist and then come into character artist once you're in the industry, then yes, it's probably not the best route to take. I would take the other way. I would become a character artist and just focus on being a character artist. But yeah, I mean, portfolio reviews, online portfolio reviews. Yeah, if you're a member, send me a link and I'll chuck it up on the live streams on Thursday, and we can have a look at what we have, or what you have, and see where we can go from there. Cool. So just gonna carry on with these teeth. Yeah. Um, yeah. Just so monotonous when it comes to these things. You're just trying to break up the smoothness. Really, you don't really have to worry too much about the shape because of this concept. But yeah, just breaking it up just takes forever. Right. Okay, that's the teeth done. I'm not going to worry. Well, not done yet. Next thing to do, just use the dam standard. And using the dam standard, I'm just going to use alpha 47. I always do. And I'm just going to, first of all, subdivide again. That was a bit too few polygons. We're now at 1 million for the teeth, which is fair enough. It's good. And I'm just going to add some lines coming from the bottom. Just to break it up. Use a little bit of a smooth brush as well. I'm just going to add some cracks going down the biggest tusks. I'm not going to worry too much about the small ones. And of course, like I keep mentioning, we're only going to see the sort of character. We're not going to see the inside of the mouth. We're not going to see the other side of the face or anything like that, unless we 3D print it. But essentially, anything you don't see, you don't need to sculpt. That's how I see it. Especially if it's just a render of a face or a head, you can just get away with not having to sculpt every little thing. I'm just going to add some squiggles in here to make it look like it's a broken tooth. And then I grab the clay buildup, just push that in, and then just smooth it out a bit. There's a bit too much. Trim dynamic and pull it out a bit. That'll do. Cool. What's going on in the chat? Do you... One second. A new... These names are killing me, man. A Nukazation. I hope that's right. Do you still have the discouraging first stage of sculpting when you start sculpting and it looks like a blob? Yeah, every time. I very rarely get things right the first time. When I do get them right the first time, it's amazing. But yeah, it's not always the case. Sometimes it's difficult to see the forest for the trees when it comes to sculpting because you're trying to picture what you're sculpting and the final piece. But if you're just sculpting random stuff, it's even more difficult. That's why having references is so important, as I keep mentioning. Especially if you're just stuck for ideas, having a reference is always very important to have. Well, from Joseph, started to watch the Alien Long video, and there you mentioned you worked on Alien Covenant. Would you please tell us your tasks on that film? Alien Covenant. What did I do on Alien Covenant? God, I can't remember. Was it more rocks? Hold on one second. Let me just see. I think I remembered Alien Covenant. Did I work on Alien? No, wait, hold on. I worked on The Predator. I don't think I worked on Alien Covenant. I must have mentioned that wrong then. Let me just have a look quick. Yeah, no, I don't see it. Second. Yeah, I don't see it in my filmography. I think my friend worked on it, who I sat next to. He's like one of the greatest sculptors that I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I think he worked on it, but I was working on Godzilla or Pokemon at the time. I think it was Pokemon. Yeah, Pikachu. I think it was Mewtwo. I was a texture artist back then for NPC. I was working on Mewtwo and some of the other little Pokemon for Detective Pikachu. That film. I think that was it. But yeah, no, I don't think Alien Covenant. Unfortunately, I'd love to work on an Alien film. I'd love to create an Alien, but yeah, just haven't had the time. So I'm just going to grab the Trim Adaptive, and now Trim Adaptive is really cool brush. It's a very scary brush as well because you start sculpting and you'll start to see your model just disappear, and it can be very awkward. But essentially what it does is it gives you that flat surface, but also digs into the model a little bit if you're not careful. So if you see there, like that, it digs into the model very harsh. So what you want to do is just use very light touches to when using this brush. And essentially, I'm just adding some faces to the face of these teeth. Yeah, see, it's very complicated brush. Maybe I'll just leave those ones a bit smoother, and just use these on these ones. Yeah, that'll do. Cool. So that's the tusks done, or the teeth. I'm just going to grab the dam standard. Now, for the eyes, I don't normally sculpt the irises and eyeballs and anything like that because it's a concept. I usually take it into Photoshop and I'll just put some random tiger eye or eagle eye from the internet. I'll just paste that where it should be to get that effect of an eyeball. The eyeball in ZBrush normally when I'm sculpting is just there for a reference so I can see where the eyeball is. So I'm not going to worry about sculpting them because we'll just paste something in its place anyway later on. So we'll just leave those there. Grab the move brush. And just position these eyes a bit more. There we are. So apart from what we have here right now, you could go further and you could add the torso and the arms to our character. But because we're doing like a bust, it's probably not needed. I would actually add maybe down to the shoulders and maybe down to the bicep, maybe. Just so we have more room when it comes to Photoshop to blend it into a background sort of area. So I think we'll do that. It'll be a very quick sculpt. So I'm just going to append a sphere. I'm going to move it down, scale it up, and place it right there. I'm going to grab the move brush, make sure symmetry is turned on. And I'm just going to mold this into the torso. And kind of want to have it as a point at the bottom. And then it sort of arches the back in a bit. Of course, none of this you're going to see at the end. It's just for, like, if you think of a plinth version. So this guy I got here. I can turn this camera on quick. There it is. So if you look at this guy I've got, all right, we're kind of, essentially we're doing this front piece here, but we're just bringing it down a little bit more. And you can see here, we're just trying to get this nice arch going at the back. Right. So returning here, I'm just going to move these points up to the shoulder. Now, if you really wanted to like sculpt a character from scratch, this is probably the better ways to do it. I normally, when I'm doing my very quick time-lapse videos, will use a lightbox model. So I would use this mannequin here or this mannequin here to start with. But if you really want to know how to get a character from scratch, then this is probably the best method to do, and that is to use primitives to block out your character shapes and make sure all the shapes are the correct scale that you want. I'm just going to mirror this over. It's going to be shoulder, by the way. Make sure that all the right scales that you want using primitive shapes. Then you can merge them all together, dynamesh it, and then start to sculpt on top of it. Yeah. You can see here, I'm not, because I have the added advantage now of being able to move this model around, but not touch this model at the top here, the shoulder pad at the top. And that just makes it so much easier to sculpt. There we are. Let's just leave it like that. So another good thing to remember is to turn off the auto masking thing we have here, the masking by polygroups, because we don't want to have issues later. So we just turn that off. And I'm not going to do any of the arms. I'm just going to have the chest and the shoulders for this character. So once I'm happy with how they look, I'm not going to merge it to the head, because then that will destroy all the detail from Dynamesh that we've created so far. I'm just going to merge it down. So I'm going to merge down to the torso, and I'm going to come in here and hit the Dynamesh button, turning off the blur, and I'm just going to bring down the resolution a bit more. That, and then you can grab the clay buildup, and then you can just go to town and add some more form. So this will be the collarbone that will come to about there. And then this will be, I mean, the head, one of the heads of the shoulders. You've got quite a few heads on the shoulders. I think there's about 4, if I'm not mistaken. So try to add all those heads in. And we can come around the back here. And on the back, we'll have a muscle there. I'm not going to call out all the muscles because A, I don't know the names of them, and B, I've never really found out what they are. So just going to call them muscle here and muscle there. Hope that helps. Move that up. Come around the back here. This back muscle comes all the way down and round the side and wraps around here. Like that. Now, because we're doing a very simple sort of shoulder or torso height, we don't have to worry too much about detailing everything like that, because it's just going to be lost anyway. So I'm just going to use the trim dynamic to block in the chest muscle. Take a step back, have a look at your model, see what it looks like. Probably bring these shoulders down a bit. I'm just gonna, I think I'm going to cut that out actually. So I'm going to turn off perspective, come over to the hit Control Shift. I'm going to use the, I normally would use the clip curve, but I've actually found that knife curve works so much better than the clip curve. And I'm just going to cut this whole area here, whole area here out, use Alt, and then I'm going to make a curve like that. and you just use a trim dynamic and just shave the arms down on the sides like that. So we're left with a very basic torso. And of course, we can just come in here and build up chest muscles. Using the clay buildup. And these actually, the chest muscle actually goes all the way down your bicep. Really, this whole piece up here actually wraps around into your bicep area down here. So it'll actually tuck underneath your shoulder there. It'll tuck in about there. So everything gets pulled into that corner under there. And there's a bit of a divot just here, like there. Or we'll just grab the mannequin again. So you can see we're sculpting these little bits here that sort of dig into the model. I'll just grab that back. So, but ours going to be a little bit bigger because our guys are a little bit bigger. And that there. How's everybody doing? Let me just check the chat quick. We got one from Shepherd. I don't understand English very well, but it looks just awesome, Orc. You can see the high skill. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, English is difficult at the best of times. Don't worry about it, mate. Got one from Connor Hampton. Great content, man. Been watching your videos, time lapses for a while, and learned a lot from them. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been about 4 years since I started, so there's a lot of content. So yeah, thank you very much. We got one here from VRTix. I have no idea. Sorry. Love your work, man. You've been a great guide for showing how to approach stuff. Got really into ZBrush since getting a graphics tablet. That's great. Actually, what kind of graphics tablet do you got? Because I had a question. I had someone ask me that before about what's the best graphics tablet to get, and well, you can't go wrong with a Wacom, obviously, but they're very pricey. I've heard of X Pen as well. Yeah, XP Pen, sorry. Thank you. They're pretty good as well. If you're a beginner, I wouldn't go buying the most expensive brand out there, which is the Wacom brand. I've been working a long time in the industry, so I've actually bought myself a Cintiq 27-inch Cintiq. I think it's just down here. Sorry. But yeah, I can't do the whole sort of normal tablet. I used to be able to, but ever since getting a proper digital display tablet, it's so much easier to see how hard you're pressing on the model or on the painting, stuff like that. But if you're a beginner, then I would start with a pen tablet, like just a graphics tablet, and then work your way into a Cintiq if you are, thinking of going further and becoming more professional. Don't go spending your money on a Wacom tablet, Cintiq, and then just giving up. It's a lot of money to just throw away. Cool. I think that's pretty good, actually. Just gonna sculpt in here a bit. Time. Oh, it's 9:30 already. My God, time flies. Yeah, I think I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I don't want to go too far, because jumping ahead too quickly, people don't really get a chance to see how it's all done, sort of thing. And that's, where's the fun in that, basically? I think what we're going to do is we're just going to keep modeling this thing until we're happy. To be honest, I think this would be quite a cool model to sort of 3D print. So maybe we'll work it towards a model that we could 3D print, and I'll do some 3D printing if it's a very viable model. I'll do a 3D print of it and see how that goes once we're finished with it. And if it's good, I'll share the STL files and stuff with my members and Patreons. Obviously, I'll share the files. I'll probably also put them up for sale on my online stores as well. But I think I'm going to leave it there for now. So I'm going to turn on that. Just put that there. Is there any more questions before we finish this live stream? I'll take about 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to take a few questions. So if you haven't got any yet, then please let me know. I do realize we forgot to put the music on. I'm so sorry for that. Next time, we'll have some music next time. I think I just wanted to really get in here and do some artwork, really. So sorry for that. We got one from Joseph. Oh wait, no, they're just talking about the base, the tablets. Sorry, he says I have a basic Wacom tablet also for my PC. As I'm a beginner, it's okay for me at the moment. Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't even have a Wacom tablet when I started sculpting. I had a really cheap one that I found at Curry's PC World. There's sort of our software stores in England, and this thing was cheap. It was like 30 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. And I used that for, I'm going to say 3 years before I bought a actual Wacom tablet. And then the Wacom tablet I did buy was a Wacom Bamboo. And that thing is like that big. That thing's about that big. It's one of those small Wacom tablets, really small. And then I used that for 2 years, thinking that I couldn't get any better than that. And yeah. So you don't have to have the best Wacom tablet. I also, another thing I did when I was a beginner, I did something really silly. I sculpted using a pen tablet, and I sculpted everything but at an angle like that because my screen was up there, right? And that is the worst thing you can do, because if your screen is up there but it's not angled down to you, it was angled straight on, like going backwards. If that happens, then you're not sculpting properly because you're not sitting at an angle where you're sitting over the model and looking at the model. You're sculpting at an angle like this, but everything is pointing towards you. So everything looks flat towards you, but you're pointing at an angle, upright angle. So everything came looking like this at this angle, but really flat. And when you eventually took it into another program and you saw it in another program, it just looked really bad. So make sure that when you're sculpting your character, you're not looking at your character at an upwards angle or too much of a downwards angle. You want to be looking at it more or less straight on or slightly downwards, slightly down onto it, like a Wacom tablet's down onto it. That's a good bit of advice, actually. Just helps not to mess up your models, basically. Is there anyone else that has anything they want to ask me before we finish this live stream? Gonna jump out of here. Oh, take one more question. If anyone's there. Of course, if you want, you can become, I'm just going to start plugging stuff, sorry. You can become a channel member. for as little. Oh god, 1 second. I've got it somewhere. There it is. For as little as $4.99 a month, and that's about 60p a live stream archive. So you get to watch all the live streams. If you become a member, you can watch all the live streams again, and you can watch the dragon tutorial, which we're working on at the moment, every Monday at 8:30. That's more of a tutorial rather than a sit down and chat experience. So you'll see me working step by step through how to create the dragon from Dragonheart. Or you can also become a patron. Becoming a patron, you'll also get more exclusive content, as well as 30% off or 20% or 30% or 10% off on my online stores, and much more stuff, much more content on Patreon, specifically for patrons. So either go there or become a member on YouTube. There's also my online stores. So you can find my online stores links below, and you can check them out. I got over 300 5-star reviews for all my products. So on ArtStation alone, and that's not including Flip Normals, Gumroad, or ZBrush. So definitely go check those out. There's a lot of good reviews for the work that I've done and created, and there's a lot of stuff for beginners and experienced artists alike. The majority of the tutorials I create are set towards beginners, like never touched ZBrush, want to learn how to use it and become fluent in it. So go check that out as well. And finally, I just want to say thank you to my YouTube members, Joseph Bonkowski, Nitze Hacht, hope that's right, and the Cool Beans podcast. The first 3 members of the January year, 2025, to become members of my YouTube channel. I want to thank you very much for supporting me. And then also I got my patrons, and don't worry, I'm not going to name all these because there's quite a few, but I'd like to thank my tier 3 patrons: Aaron Todman, Ganesh, Robert Buchanan, hope that's right, and Erwin van der Mine for being tier 3 patrons, and the lonely Raphael Lanzotti in tier 1. Thank you for supporting me for so long. And yeah, thanks a lot. So with that being said, if there's no need, I'm just going to check the comments one more time. Just for you to start. Is it okay if I do? Just going one more question here. For start, is it okay if I do just busts, or is it better to go for full body? I think it's better to do individual parts. So focus on all the parts of the body, but do them individually. Once you have a handle of how to do it individually, then it's going to be a lot easier later when you put them all together. Don't worry, I think we're going to go through this at a later stage, because we're going to do a lot more of these. But I'm going to show you how to sculpt the human anatomy, I guess, the way I would sculpt it as a beginner, and then put them all together later on. So try to stay away from pop culture or things that are in pop culture or very famous. So I would stay away from celebrity faces, because they're going to see straight away that you can't sculpt faces properly if you try to, recreate a famous person. And yeah, anything pop culture related as well. It's not great. I mean, I do a lot of pop culture stuff, but I'm just doing it because it's just a piece of artwork that I want to make. But if you want to get into the industry or games industry is easy, because you just look at the studio you want to work for, and you just do what they do, and you make a portfolio of the stuff that they have or want to see, and there's you pretty good good opportunity to get in. For film, it's a lot more difficult, because you have to know more variety of programs, as well as have very good skills in them. Games you can, you know, have less skill, but learn on the job and learn quick. So I would say, I would say, stay away from pop culture stuff as much as possible. Do orcs, like we have this orc bust, we're orc creature that we're doing. You know, do stuff like this, grab images like this, and just try to copy what you see in the image. If it takes you 10 to 20 times to get it right, then at least you've sculpted 10 to 20 heads, right? That's how I see it, before you get it right. But yeah, full body stuff. We'll look into the full body stuff later on. I got one last one from Sparky Face 5 saying hello from Australia. Hello. Unfortunately, you just missed the live stream. We're about to finish up here. If you want, you can become a member and see all the archive live streams that I have for my members on YouTube. But yeah, we're about to finish off here. So I just want to thank everyone again for joining me tonight. And I hope the next live stream will be on Monday, where we'll be sculpting the front arms for our dragon from Dragonheart. And I'll run you through how to sculpt them from into the next stage, for the next stage of the development of that character. I want to say thank you for joining tonight, and I'll leave the stream up until tomorrow, so you guys can watch it. But it will be gone by 9 o'clock GMT time to my members and Patreons to archive. So thanks a lot and take care. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more exclusive content and want to support my work further, then please check out my Patreon page at MLW_creative for more. Also, view past live streams you might have missed in Tier 3 tutorial support, where I will be archiving future streams moving forward. If you are interested in other full-length tutorials, brushes, and models, then check out my online stores for more useful content. I would also like to thank all my subscribers and patrons for supporting me for this long. Again, thanks for watching and stay safe.